What is up, everyone? We are back again today, and this type might look familiar because I am back playing some Mono Ice, but I'm not alone today. Today I'm joined by a good friend of mine and probably the best ice player I've ever known. If you are familiar with my content, you might have seen his name pop up a few times in previous ice videos. I am joined with none other than S-Rank, if you'd like to say hello.
Yo, what's up? How's it going, everybody? Oh,
Bit about S-Rank. You want to tell the viewers about yourself, like why you started playing ice, kind of your credentials as ice, and just kind of take it away for a minute.
yeah, no problem. So I started playing Ice in Generation 7. I was a mono water player, which I look back on
We,
not
we've all
particularly.
we've all been there. We can admit
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, it's mono water is man, that's rough. That is like you got to be in a dark place to play that type. But yeah, I used to play mono water, and as time went on, I was like, this is so boring because I'm not even thinking.
Hmm.
Um, I hit like 1600, and I was like, this is boring. And I was like, what is another type? Because I really like weather.
Hmm.
What's another type that's good? And I was like, sand is boring and looks kind of meh. Uh, Fire is cool, but like, I don't really like the fire types. But ice, I really loved. At the time, Vanillux was my favorite ice type, and there weren't really a whole lot of other good ice types that I cared about.
I mean, there still
Um,
isn't, but that's beside the point.
but then after that, I fell in love with every ice type, and I still think I play it today because of the colors. I just love all their shiny colors. It's so like vibrant and neon. It's my favorite.
Okay, that is a good enough reason as any, if you ask me. So, I'm going to be asking S-Rank a lot of questions today. So if
Uh-huh.
you want to know the real nitty gritty in depths of mono ice, well, we're in good hands today because S rank knows his ice types. But before we do that, we're just going to jump into the team, and I'm going to let you take it away from here because you built this team. It is completely new to me. I've never used it, so let's have a look at it.
Okay, so first Pokemon on the team is Darmanitan. Darmanitan is like I don't understand why people put it in A rank. This Pokemon is insane. Um, okay, I'm gonna go. Is it okay if I go in depth about each one of the
Yeah,
picks?
absolutely. I'd love to hear it.
Awesome. So I have like 4 boxes in my Showdown team builder that are just like dedicated to Darm and its winning matchups. Um, Regular like just Darmanitan without an item is so good because it can beat Tyranitar, things like Mandibuzz, Goltrace, Bisharp, Crawdaunt, basically like anything, even Excadrill on ground and Hippowdon, Celesteela as well. It's just such a great Pokemon. But then if you plan to go either Band or Scarf, you get a couple of different reactions. So like
Hmm.
I think Banded is good for like your bad matchups, which are like Fire and Bug and stuff. But the thing is, those matchups aren't really that common, so I don't really care about going Scarf. I more so care about Band because if we happen to run into Melmetal, the only way we can one-shot it consistently is with a banded Darmanitan. So that's like, and even then it's a 97% chance, I think.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty rough. I mean, that's actually an
uh,
interesting question. What, like, if you had to choose one, do you prefer Band or Scarf? Personally, I think I'm Team Band. I actually like Band
yeah,
Darmanitan. I think
yeah.
it's hilarious attack stat is just too funny. It's like, oh, look at me, I have like 700 attack and just blow things up.
Yeah, honestly, I think I'd have to go for Band too because this is kind of embarrassing. I don't know if it says a lot about just how much of like overkill Darm is, but there have been times where I've looked at other banded Pokemon and been like, so for example, like banded Tyranitar hits like 600,
Yeah,
and
and
I
it's
I've
nothing. It's useless. You're like, that's not numbers.
that's not a
Darmanitan does
number.
numbers. Yeah.
That's not a number. That's so garbage compared to Darmanitan. And I think I have a little bit of privilege because of that, but
Sure.
I think Darmanitan is just as a band, it's so funny
Uh,
and it's so
s-
good.
so one thing I
Uh,
noticed here on your set, not to poke holes, is you forgot to put 4 EVs into something. So I'm just gonna drop it here in SpDef, just for completionist
oh
sake.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah, honestly, I think I kind of forgot to even EV it. That's how little it matters. Uh,
Yeah, no, Darmanitan is such a great Pokemon. I'm really happy.
yeah,
It's just
so
it's I think it's really needed on ice. I think
funny.
Ice as a glass cannon type, I feel like
Hmm.
previously couldn't necessarily play as glass cannons, and then they were just in Game Freak like, all right, let's make a glass cannon so ridiculously powerful it blows up both on contact and the enemy on contact. I was like, all right, cool, and let's give it the
Yeah,
ice type. So I just think it's a perfect for the what ice type wants to do.
it's so good, dude. It's like I completely agree with you. Another thing that I really absolutely adore about Darmanitan, and this gets, can I get into like why I love Ice as a whole as an offensive type?
Yeah, sure.
So everyone knows that Ice is like a really great offensive type, but the reasoning behind it is just I love it. Ice, when you pair it with either fighting or ground, can hit 9 different types without overlapping for super
Hmm.
effective damage. And
I mean,
then
that's not to
it's
mention Bolt Beam coverage as well, which is, famous since Gen 1 for being just an excellent coverage pair.
it's 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 so good. And then you have like super spammable type coverages like Ice Ghost, Ice Fairy, Ice Dark,
Hmm.
Ice Water, Ice Dragon, dude. Like any good neutral coverage type benefits so much from being paired with the Ice type offensively. Yeah, defensively you lose a lot, but Ice has actually in this generation so many things that can help mitigate that. I think there's at least 5 or 6 viable, in my opinion, viable quote unquote defensive ice type Pokemon,
Yes.
but we can get into that in a minute.
Yes. So actually, speaking of that, it kind of naturally progresses into our next
Mhm.
Pokemon, which is
Yeah,
Ninetales, and there's so much to be said about Ninetales. I think Aurora Veil
yeah.
was, in my
So,
opinion, the best thing that ever happened to Ice. I think it's so cool that
uh,
Hail finally has some use outside of like Slush Rush, which I find is cool but never used, in my opinion. I just love
yeah,
Veil. And what's your thoughts on Veil actually as a whole? Like, I know it's almost counterintuitive to what Ice is, but also it's also not, if that makes sense.
yeah. I would actually argue. Okay, in terms of what Ice is trying to do, I think I think Aurora Veil is a really cool move. I think okay, as a hyper offense type and in hyper offense in general, one of the most common strats is like dual screens because it
Yes.
lets your attacking Pokemon come in and set up. So like for example, on Dark you have Grimmsnarl that comes in and lets Goltris set up.
Yes.
On I think that's kind of the only good screen Pokemon right now.
In
Um,
monotypes, probably, yeah. I would think so. I think Grim is really
yeah,
good though at what it does.
You can also tech a Lecky if you want to do like a nasty plot on Raichu kind of thing, but that's if you can get over how absolutely garbage Electric is. Um, I'm
Ooh,
sorry, I
that's
hate
that's
Electric. It's so
fighting words
bad.
right there. I like electric. I like dual screens Coco, but that's a story for
That's fair
another
too.
day.
Dual Screens
Um,
Coco is really good. I think Specs Coco is just way better though.
that's fair.
Um, yeah, but in terms of how I think I should have been handled, it's cool. I do like it, and I do think, hey, having immediate dual screens is really good. But the problem is, Ninetales is kind of the only viable one
Yes.
because, like, there is just nothing fast about any of the other ones. The only other one I would remotely say is kind of viable is Vanillux, but it's just so entirely outclassed by both
Yes.
Kiram as a Specs user or by Ninetales as a Veil setter. And so it's just it gets really annoying. I actually think when Kieran Black was here, Auroras was kind of decent. But that's where Kieran Black has been banned, so I will shut up about Auroras. Um,
I can't believe
Liz,
Kieran Black betrayed the ice type. It was the hero they needed.
it was the hero they needed, but it's also just so funny. Oh, I'm sorry, it's also just so dumb. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
No, it's all good.
uh, but it's so overpowered. But anyway, when it comes to Ninetales, these EVs are I think really important. They're actually explicitly for the water type matchup.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people will look at water and be like, "Oh, that's such an ice winning matchup because ice can just turn off rain and you start clicking freeze dry." Which, like, yeah, ice can do that, and that is something that ice is like very much so priding itself on as like an anti-meta type. Which is the ability to come in, turn off rain, start clicking freeze dry, get a veil up, and then just invalidate water. The problem is, as as we've talked about, Barraskewda
Yes.
is is just so much, and in the transition from Generation 7 to Generation 8, Water has become way more of an even matchup for Ice because of Barraskewda and Urshifu in particular. Um,
I would
and
have
that's
to agree with that. I think Generation 7, Ice wiped the floor
mm,
with Water. I think it was
oh yeah,
so easy. But I still personally find if I'm playing Ice and I see Water, I'm comfortable that I can win the matchup.
oh
But
yeah,
I do think the gap has been closed a lot because of Urshifu and Barraskewda. That's a very good point.
yeah. Uh, I completely agree with you. I still think Ice. If we had to talk in like Smash Bros terms, like Ice versus Water is like a +1 matchup in Ice's favor. Like Ice wins more
Yes,
often than not,
yes, but it's
but
not a complete washout.
oh yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for Water that they have that, but also it says a lot that the two Pokemon that got added to Water to make this big are the two Pokemon that have insane fighting type coverage.
Hmm.
Ice Ice as a whole really can't deal with fighting type Pokemon like at all. Um the only like neutralities that Ice has to fighting are like Frosmoth, Articuno, Ninetales, and I think that's everything.
Kind of
And like
Avalugg just by virtue of his stupid defense, but yeah, it's not literally resist. But I mean, Iron Defense Avalugg can, I feel,
Iron
can
Defense
go
Avalon.
so far in the fighting matchup until they take out like a single special attacker and you just die.
Yeah, and it's like Avalugg. If you can get rid of Keldeo in the fighting type matchup, Avalugg is really good. But
Hmm.
I think, oh yeah, and then Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme. But like again, nobody cares about them. I do think
Yes.
Mr. Rhyme will pick up some steam, but we'll get onto that later.
Yes, actually,
Um,
I have a list of Pokemon I want to ask you about before we
oh
go
yeah,
into
for
some
sure.
games, but we'll get to those after the team. So
Oh
about
yeah, of course.
Ninetales, there's something to be said for Ninetales' fairy typing, definitely bringing that
Uh huh.
neutrality to fighting, which is quite good. I think it's quite good.
Yeah. And so yeah, I just giving Ninetales the Ice Fairy was so good for Ice because if we're looking at like the damage calcs, Barraskewda, sorry if I'm going.
No,
Sorry if I'm like derailing it all.
no, this is good. This is good stuff.
Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. If we're looking at Ninetales, for a second, I have 120 defense. Yeah, 120 defense, and that is so that way neither Barraskewda nor Urshifu can OHKO Ninetales with liquidation or close combat or surging strikes.
Hmm.
As long as Ninetales is at full.
Yes.
Now, again, that does have a little bit of variance because Urshifu likes to run Poison Jab / Iron Head with a Choice Scarf sometimes.
Hmm.
And so one of my favorite things to do is lead Ninetales. If they lead Urshifu, I hard switch to Cloyster because if they switch out, okay, it's a pretty safe bet that they're banned. If they stay in and they click, Iron Head, hey, I'm not going to take that much because
Yes, the part
Cloyster has
water.
like 180 defense and is a
Yes,
neutrality.
it's a monster.
Oh
Actually,
yeah,
I guess we'll talk about Cloister next then, since we kind of brought that up. If are you
yeah,
done talking about Ninetales? Are we done with this, or do you have
yeah.
more to say on the Ninetales?
Honestly, max speed, good defense to live Urshifu and stuff, and then enough special attack. See, I know for a fact. I remember seeing your video on Mono Ice, and you changed Ninetales to max HP.
Hmm.
I feel like this set still provides the utility that max HP does. So let me look
Hmm.
at max HP. So max HP Ninetales, 252. Max HP Ninetales is taking at most 94 from liquidation,
Hmm.
whereas this set takes 98. So
Okay.
it's like kind of around the same. You're still
Yeah.
not going to be able to switch in on stealth rocks very well. So you still have to keep it at full. And what 136 does is it lets you actually have a pretty solid chance of OHKOing back with freeze dry.
Hmm.
So this is probably the set that I would say is like if you want a bulkier Ninetales, I think this is a pretty decent set, but also like messing around with Ninetales as HP and defense is going to be really helpful, especially as the meta
Yes.
evolves. So
I
for
feel
right
like
now,
I guess my 2 cents on that would be that this Ninetales is definitely a better for specific roles. Like it's definitely a better
oh yeah,
killer of specific roles, while max
hmm
HP is kind of quite
yeah.
honestly a lazy general all-purpose. Like it'll survive something. I didn't bother
Oh,
calculating.
you're
It'll
good.
survive something, you know.
Don't say
Um,
it's lazy, dude. It's a valid strat. You're good.
okay, so well we have Weavile next. We talked about Cloister there, so let's go to Cloister first. And this
Okay,
thing,
Cloyster.
as you said, 180 defense is hysterically large. This thing has
Yeah.
large defense.
See, here's the thing about Cloyster. I think Cloyster would be. Oh man, I'm gonna bring up Hisuian and Avalugg. I think Cloyster would have been largely outclassed had Hisuian and Avalugg been ice water.
Yes. Oh,
Sadly,
100%. Yes, I agree completely with that idea.
sadly not. However, I do think there is so much that Cloyster offers over Avalugg
Hmm.
that is just um, really, really. It's such a flexible Pokemon because it can play either that really classic Focus Sash / King's Rock / Nevermelt Ice Shell Smash Icicle Cross roll or
Hmm.
Icicle Spear, pardon. Um, or it can do what I like to do with it and what I have here with the set, which is teleport, spikes, rapid spin, ice shard. Um, I A lot of people don't know that Cloyster gets teleport.
Yes, it
Um,
was a Let's Go move, wasn't it?
it is a Let's Go. Well, actually,
And
no, it's not a Let's Go move.
oh, it
It
got
is,
it in older generations.
yeah, it was from Generation 2.
Okay.
It
No, I
came
sorry. I know the move is, but did Cloyster learn it in Generation 2?
Cloyster did in fact learn it in Generation
Wow,
2.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. You can't, and that's why, and thankfully, um, that's a big reason why I'm so happy. That's a big reason why it's even usable. If it was only in Let's Go, this thing would be awful.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, because it came out in Generation 2, you now get access to teleport rapid spin because rapid spin
Okay.
is also an older generation move. That was, I
Yes,
think, it was only possible through breeding with a certain Pokemon. Um, and so because you can go through the generations and physically obtain this,
that makes
like,
sense.
yeah, it's just it makes this so much better. Um, rapid spin is obviously great for hazard removal. It replaces Avalugg in that. Teleport. Okay, Avalugg is dead in so many matchups, in my
Yes,
opinion.
I agree.
It.
Avalugg is the definition of a specialty Pokemon. Like, it's
Oh yeah.
so good in 3 or 4, maybe 5 matchups, and
Uh-huh.
completely dead weight in others.
And the thing is, like, I really like Avalugg when it comes to Ice's bad matchups, like Ice versus Fire. Avalugg can set up on Cinderace. Ice
Hmm.
versus Bug, it's probably your only consistent win con, and I say consistent in air quotes because you can still get crit against Scissor.
Yes,
Um, and it's also good against Trick Room Steel and Rock, but again, Trick Room Steel is not good. Rock sucks. Fire is
I
low
personally
tier.
took offense to that one there. That hurt me deep, S rank.
Yeah, no. That's completely fair. Rock is cute. Rock is really like cute, but I wouldn't call it by any means meta defining. But I do respect people liking that because that's why I got into Ice. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, you have to respect a fellow low tier player. You know,
oh yeah, for
we got
sure.
to stick together.
We have to stick together. I'm still allowed to have my opinions on
Yeah,
how
that's fine.
booty your type is, but that's okay. But anyway, I do like Avalugg, and I think it's really good. But again, like, not having anything to do versus Ghost, Psychic, not having anything to do versus Flying versus
Yes,
Water. It's like it gets really old, especially when those are like the popular types.
yes.
Not necessarily Ghost, but like Psychic, Flying, Water.
Water, yes. Steel is a big one too.
Uh huh.
Flying, and I don't think it has, maybe besides surviving like a close combat from Zapdos, I don't think it has much use in flying
Yeah.
either.
Even then, Zapdos like is so good when it's choice banded that I don't think anyone could justify passing it up.
Yes,
And
yes,
that completely invalidates Avalugg.
yes,
Whereas Cloyster having teleport lets it do a lot of really cute things. It helps you, and this gets into Kirim, which is just a monster. Oh god, Kirim is so funny. Kirim is so funny, dude. It's so unhealthy, but it's also just so funny. It helps you stall out heavy slams because you can come in on heavy slam and then teleport directly out, and you also waste leech seed.
yes.
Um, and the Kirim set that I actually have here can take 2 heavy slams behind a veil and substitute.
That's incredible, and
It's so stupid.
that's actually one thing I think isn't necessarily talked about enough in the context of Mono Ice is
Mhm.
keeping momentum, which is what
Oh yeah,
Teleport Cloister can absolutely do, which is
dude,
crazy.
it's so
Also, I mean, Spikes is also just really nice support for an already offensive type. I mean, tacking on potentially 25% chance if your
uh,
opponent wants to swap in, that's just
yeah,
invalidates a lot of swap ins.
Yeah. And like the thing is, I talked to Shrek 5. I talked to our neighborhood mono normal player Shrek
Yes.
5 about hazards, and they were like, yeah, spikes are like so many teams don't prep for it because everyone is
Yes.
too busy about stealth rocks
Yes.
that spikes can just kind of invalidate everything else. And I
Absolutely.
really do agree with him. You can also run toxic spikes here. I genuinely have never found a use for toxic spikes beyond like mildly stalling with Kiram, and you can remedy that by putting toxic on
Yeah,
Piloswine.
I kind of feel like with regards to toxic spikes and ice, it
Hmm.
doesn't want to stick around long enough to let the ice the toxic damage rack up, if that makes sense. Like I would rather an immediate, even just 12% from spikes, rather than
Uh-huh.
a 6-12 from toxic, because chances are, if you're playing ice right, the Pokemon won't live to see 6-12. It should just blow up like by on maybe Darmanitan's hands, or I guess you
Oh
said like stalling with Kyurem or something. It makes sense, but
yeah.
Kyurem's often going to force out swaps anyway, and the
Uh-huh.
Spikes chip is going to be super nice. Also, not to mention, there's a lot of poison Pokemon now who are going to absorb
Is
those
right.
T Spikes.
Yeah, like for so the poison matchup, I think poison is like a high tier type. I don't know if I would call it top 5, but it definitely is really incredible.
It's in the top
Um
half easily.
yeah.
I could see if someone argued top 5, I could definitely understand the argument. I think it's maybe just outside top 5 for me, but I could see
Yeah.
the argument for top 5.
Yeah. And like toxic spikes are so dead in that matchup. I would so much rather have rapid spin spikes teleport. Now
Mm-hmm.
ice shard, the EVs I have here are 248, 248. One of the roles that defensive cloister fills when it's not teleport, because you actually can't run teleport if you're not overcoat, which is why I have ice shard here
Yes,
instead of icicle crab or icicle
makes
spear.
sense.
Um, Now, here's the thing: you actually can do it, but we'll get onto that later when I talk about other viable ice type Pokemon that aren't used as much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One of them does, in fact, free up Cloyster quite a bit, and I'm so grateful for that Pokemon. Um, but at the moment with this team, you are forced to run Overcoat, which is good, and I think it actually will pick up a lot more, especially when like Breloom gets back. Having a switch into Spore is going to be insane,
Yes.
um, especially a physical defensive switch into Spore that can ice shard it to death. Crazy. Um, but these EVs, again, sorry, I got sidetracked. One of the roles that Cloyster has is defeating Mimikyu on Ghost as well as defeating Dragapult. And if you can't do those things, you're going to get stuck in the mid tiers of ladders, or you're going to just lose to a really cheesy Ghost team in tourney.
Yes.
Um, so what this set does, 248, 248 defense. It doesn't let you take too much more from anything, but the 12 attack actually lets you cleanly 3-hit KO Dragapult.
Okay.
So
That's pretty important, honestly. Because
as
Dragapult, despite being Dragon type, you think like, oh, it's easy, but I mean, it could still wreak a lot of havoc against an ice team.
yeah, that is very fair. Dragapult especially because if it's Scarf, Weavile can't outspeed it if it's max speed,
Yes.
and so you really have to play super carefully. Um, but one of the workarounds is the most popular dragon or the most popular Dragapult set on Ghost at least right now is Dragon Dance Sub.
Yes.
And I don't really care about Dragon because I am an Ice type player,
Of
and
course.
Dragon has never ever given me problems ever. So like I would rather prep for the one that I'm gonna care about and that's a little bit more volatile than the one that I've never had problems with. Just a little team building tip for anyone who is like stuck in the lower ladders of monotype and wants to like ladder a little bit more. This is make sure you're prepping for things that you actually care about, not just
Yes.
stuff that like, hey, this beat me one time.
Yes, and don't prep for necessarily the high ladder or top ladder.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get there, and teams change over time. That's one
Oh
really
yeah.
important thing I don't talk about enough on the channel. The teams I use at low ladder aren't necessarily the same teams I use at high ladder because you're fighting very different things.
Yeah. It's really important for that. And that's a mistake I see a lot of people make. I've actually fallen victim to that quite a bit until
Hmm.
I learned how to adapt. But anyway, Cloyster's water typing pairs so well with Piloswine. Do you want to go back to Weavile, or do you want to talk about Piloswine?
I think we'll do Weavile because we just mentioned it there briefly a second ago about speed tiers and outspeed and Dragapult. So let's talk about
Yeah,
Weavile for a small bit.
sure. So in terms of a Pokemon that I would genuinely say is the lifeblood of Ice throughout the entirety of Pokemon, I honestly don't think I could make a case against Weavile. It is
Mhm.
such an important Pokemon, regardless of what tier you're in or what format of monotype you're playing, whether it's Generation 4 up, like you're always going to see Weavile because Weavile is like Ice's primary access to speed control. Its typing is so good. Especially with as of Isle of Armor, it now has triple axle, which is such an amazing move. Like,
When it hits.
listen, listen, man.
I'm a rock player, I can say that.
Yeah, you can totally. But here's the thing: triple axle is like only 5% less accurate than Hydro Pump, and people run that as well.
True.
So many people run Focus Blast, and I say 5% less accurate, if you do the math on it, it comes out to like 75% to hit all 3 triple axles. So it's pretty common. But it is better than Focus Blast. It is better than Hydro Pump, in my opinion. It's like it's like Blizzard, but physical and can break Sash.
Mhm.
I'm so willing to trade that.
I completely agree. Also, Stab knockoff, especially in a tier without Z crystals and Megastones, is so good.
Dude, like, it's insane because Weavile is also in a speed tier that is only really overtaken by Dragapult. Like,
Yes.
like if we're talking about Mono Electric,
Nobody runs Scarf Zero though. That's just not a thing.
Scarf Zeraora, nobody's running Scarfaleki, nobody's running Scarf Poco. If we're talking about water, it actually can outspeed Barraskewda because guess what? Barraskewda relies on Swift Swim for its rain.
Yes.
If we're talking about Dragapult, we just discussed how the most popular Dragapult set has to boost its speed first.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't let Dragapult do that, Weavile can just come in. It's really, really great versus Meteor Beam Celesteela. Because if Meteor Beam Celesteela happens to do anything and you land a triple axle, all 3 of it, you can at least, I think you do like 70%.
It's pretty good.
And like, it's just really important. You can help revenge kill it with Piloswine, but I just can't see a reason to not run Weavile, especially with like, God,
Okay.
Weavile is just so good, dude.
I have 2 kind of questions about Weavile.
What's up?
One is the ability. This isn't necessarily. I understand it doesn't have abilities, but just
It does have an ability. I will correct. It's not like I'm not gonna. It's not like I'm knocking you for saying it doesn't have an ability. It's got Pickpocket. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no. Oh, good.
Part.
I was gonna say no. If theory crafting completely, just completely. This
Yeah.
isn't about the team. If you could give Weavile any other ability, what would you give it?
Dude, if I could give Weavile an ability, that would not be okay. I love this question.
You can't say like huge power or like tough claws because it would be banned. It's so good in singles as it is. Like, be reasonable to the extent that it won't get banned, but will help it out.
Which is exactly why I'm not gonna say Technician.
Yeah.
Technician Weavile with triple axle would be the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. 180 base power ice type move coming off of
it would be banned.
Yeah, but what I would say might be better is Infiltrator. I think Infiltrator Weavile would be really, really cool because
I like that idea.
Because then you don't get walled by Grimmsnarl at all if you're Scarf.
Yes.
On top of that, like it can go through Substitute. It punishes Pokemon trying to pressure stall it. It's about as niche as Pressure, but it's a little bit more usable.
I think.
However, so what?
I think Infiltrator is better for offensive Pokemon than Pressure, though. Like, I think I like Crobat with Pressure with Infiltrator a lot. It just it hits niche things that are really important, and I think I've never actually thought of Infiltrator and Weavile, but I want that very badly now because I think that's the perfect niche. It's like the only small thing Weavile's missing. And I think worth mentioning too, its Dark typing is super good for blocking priority Will-Wisps. So, they can't even rely on that to try to take down Weavile. This thing is just, it's fast, it's mean, it's strong.
It's so good. And I'm so sorry if I'm like interrupting you. I'm
Not
just
at
so
all.
excited to I'm just so excited that you have me here to like talk about this. Ah, it's so much fun, and you're so cool.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So
Uh,
the last question I have on Weavile is, and this is a move I run too, but I've never. People have asked me, oh, why do I run it? I'm like, I don't know. I just really like foul play.
I'll play.
I like it. I like it on Weavile. I don't know why I like it on Weavile, but I like it on Weavile.
So, foul play is a really interesting tech because, well, it's not like a super interesting tech, but the reason that you would run it is because A, it beats opposing setup sweepers that use Shell Smash. Cloister, Weavile is faster than Cloister if you can get chip on Cloister with something like, hey, getting in your own Cloister and ice sharding, or getting in Piloswine and ice sharding, or having it take rocks damage and its shell smashes, Weavile outspeeds and kills it with that. If you're fighting Aegislash and you're fighting a Swords Dance variant, you can actually use this to not touch, to quote unquote, not touch King Shield, because it's not going to take into account your attack stat. It takes into account Aegislash. And so I think that's really good. Also, foul play is super nice in the event that you do, if you're, let's say you're fighting Ghost or something, which as uncommon as that might be, let's say you are fighting Ghost. You can, what foul play allows you to do is, in the event that you do get that minus attack, foul play can actually kill basically every other Pokemon on Ghost, regardless of investment. Because Blacephalon has 120, 7 attack, Dragapult has 120 as well. Gengar is not super high, but it's also really physically frail, so that doesn't matter. Spectrier is annoying and doesn't die, so it can kill virtually everything else on Ghost, which I really appreciate. And also, let's say you need a way to beat Victini or something, this also helps. So
Yes, makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, so you also mentioned there briefly Piloswine, so which is definitely, I think, naturally the
Yeah.
next one we talk about. And by the way, before we talk anything about Piloswine, I'm sorry to Mamoswine, but I'm Team Piloswine all the way for ice.
Yeah.
I think Mamoswine had its niche. I think it's definitely better on ground, but I think on ice, I'm a big Piloswine fan.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It really sucks. I've tried messing around with Spadef Mamoswine, like in the event that, because Mamoswine actually has a better HP stat by like 10, I think,
It
which
might be
is not a
20.
lot.
It's not a huge amount though. It's small. Yeah, I agree. It's small.
Yeah, it's Piloswine's 100, Mamoswine's 110.
Okay.
However, Mamoswine is base 130, and this gets into a set later, but you can essentially make a makeshift Piloswine with Assault Vest, but again, I prefer this set because it lets me set up Stealth Rocks and use Toxic. Now, in terms of Piloswine, I think it's just probably one of the best, especially defensive Pokemon. It's just so reliable, dude.
It is.
Like,
Yes.
it's so good. You can bring it in on threats like Magnezone. You can bring it in on. It's probably the one thing that stops Regieleki from cheesing you. It's really dead in water, but it's super good versus Heatran. Um, it also doesn't get messed up too bad by what is it? What's that Pokemon?
Volcarona.
Excadrill.
Oh,
And
Excadrill,
Volcarona.
sorry.
Yeah, Excadrill. It doesn't get messed up too bad by Excadrill, but probably one of the biggest reasons that Piloswine is run, which is kind of sad considering the fact that Volcarona is a great Pokemon cursed with being on bad teams.
Yes.
And other than that, like, Piloswine is just all around amazing and can 1v1 types if you play it correctly. Like, I've 1v1'd ground with it. I've beaten electric with it. It's so good for switching in on Tapu Lele. Lele
Yes.
is one of the bigger reasons why I think Piloswine is so good, because it just takes like 20 from Moonblast if it's Scarf, and if it's Specs, it can KO back with Earthquake. And if you can scout for the fact that it is Specs, Ninetales outspeeds it, and you can make Piloswine bulk here with a Veil. Like, it's just so good.
It's funny, it kind of reminds me, like, base 60 Spadef on paper is terrible, and even with max investment careful, it's 240, but then you just think of how powerful, like, multiplication is in Pokemon. We have Eviolite that puts it up to, what, 360? And then with Veil, we're at effectively 720, which it seems crazy that from 60 base Spadef, we can effectively hit 720 SPDEF so easily. And the
Yeah.
404 HP is a lot, and then it just has good defense. Not amazing defense, but just good defense as well. Just naturally decent defense thanks to EVO Light. So this thing is seriously bulky. The only thing it lacks is any form of recovery, but, you know, you can't have everything.
Get Shore Up. Please give Piloswine Shore Up.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That or Slack Off. Like, it's a pig. Come on,
I
man,
mean,
get
I'm
Shore
surprised
Up.
it doesn't have
Slack
slack off. It looks like it would have a nice sleep. Look at it. It looks sleepy. He's cute.
He's a sweepy little boy for sure. A sweepy little cute little boy. And I don't know, just rock support on top of spikes. I mean, there really isn't a lot to say about Piloswine except for the fact that it's really bulky and it just does its job.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good. And then last but not least,
yes, this is gonna take probably as long as the rest of the video combined. It's just Kyurem. That there's that much to talk about Kyurem, but no, take it away. This thing is a serious monster in every way.
Yeah. Kyurem is just so stupid. Later on, I was wondering if I could show off some other sets for Kyurem.
Yes, for sure.
There are like 5 or so viable sets for Kyurem that all basically do the same thing, but that tailor Kyurem's damage output and speed in different ways. The set we have here is especially defensive Kyurem with enough physical defense EVs to, behind an Aurora Veil, not have its sub broken by Heavy Slam from Celesteela.
Which is crazy.
Which is so good. Oh my god, it either forces them to start running Flamethrower, or it either forces them to start clicking Flamethrower on you, or it forces them to switch out.
Yes.
And like, it essentially cuts down Celesteela's Heavy Slam to what? Is it 8 or is it 12?
I think it's usually 16 base PP,
So
so it would be 8, I think.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. You might be 12, but I feel like it's 16.
It is 16. It cuts it down to 8 uses, which on a Pokemon like Kyurem is so stupid. And the fact that it would just let in every other ice type as a result, like, this team is tailored around Kyurem.
Yes.
Like, I know this is hyper offense, but like, it's so interesting to me, the support environment that Kyurem naturally has on ice, like Weavile being an extra pressure Pokemon, Cloyster allowing it to come in safely and set up spikes with teleport, or come in safely with teleport and set up spikes. Piloswine is a Pokemon that can set up Stealth Rock and toxic other Pokemon in which Kyurem can stall out. I don't think I could count the amount of times I have stalled out Slowking and Slowbro with Kyurem.
As well as that, it actually can stall out things like Ferrothorn pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
Unless they're running maybe Iron Defense Body Press, but I don't see that in monotypes much. I see it occasionally in maybe other 1v1 formats, but I've rarely seen it in monotypes.
Yeah, the only typing that genuinely Ferrothorn can ever give Kyurem any kind of problem in is the winning matchup that is Grass. Now, because in Grass, Ferrothorn is like, oh, I have to run Body Slam. Oh, I have to run Jump Ball. But on Steel, from what I've heard, Water is really hard for Steel, and so they tend to run Power Whip as well as Protect for scouting, rocks or spikes, depending on if you're running Skarmory or not. And then
Seed usually, isn't it?
Seed, yep. So like right there, Kyurem just stalls that out. It also this SPDEF investment is so funny versus passive Steel. This gets into one of my other points. Kyurem is probably the biggest reason why I consider one of Ice's best and honestly most fun matchups to be Steel.
That is a controversial thing to say because I despise fighting Steel with Ice.
Yeah, and maybe I misspoke a little bit. Maybe not one of its best matchups, but definitely like in terms of Ice's bad matchups, which Ice has 5 of. Ice has Fire, Fighting, Steel, Rock, and then surprisingly Bug, but that's because of Volcarona and Scissor.
I think Bug is actually Ice's potentially worse, just because it has 2 of its biggest like not walls, but 2 of its biggest complete blocks, like as you said, Scizor and Volcarona, on their respective types are so hard to beat. And then they had a type like, okay, but what if it had both? And Ice is just like, what? So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that. It's tough. Also, Bug abuses heavy duty boots, so we're not even getting the spikes and stealth rock chip that we'd want to see on that.
And that's the thing. Like that's kind of where I sit with ice versus bug. It's like, dude, it's so annoying because on top of those two Pokemon, you also have to consider the fact that you're contending with sticky webs and Buzzwole and
Yes,
Heracross and potentially Centiskorch, which is still, I think, on bug, Centiskorch is mildly viable,
it's
but
niche, but I think it has. I definitely think it's viable.
yeah. And like the thing is, dude, it just walls Darmanitan, which was kind of the thing that it did in OU while Darm was there. But
Hmm.
it was such a bad Pokemon that's kind of why Darm got banned. Is like, hey, it forced us to run Pokemon that aren't good.
Yes, yes,
Um, but like Bug just has so many options versus Ice that your only real way of beating it is if you're running Arctozolt, or if you're running the nichest pick in the world, which is Walrein, um, or Shell Smash Cloister. And that's kind of the only real way, other than like Iron Defense Avalugg, that I genuinely see you beating Bug. It's
yes.
so hard that like I'm not a big fan of like not playing matchups through, but sometimes, man, Bug just makes me want to not play it.
I understand that, and I think one thing that makes bugs so hard compared to like steel or other things, with steel you're focusing on just steals. With fire you're focusing on just fires, for example. With bug you're focusing on steel and then a fire and then a random fighting, and it's like you're not focused on the one challenge. It's gonna
Yeah.
constantly throw new things at you. Like, okay, I can finally take care of the steel Pokemon Caesar. Then they throw a fire Pokemon at you, and then if you manage to take that, they throw a fighting type at you. It's just there's so much secondary typings on bugs that just overwhelms us, I think.
Yeah, it's like I do kind of agree with you there. Like the fact that it wouldn't be such a problem if the Pokemon with those secondary types weren't so overpowering against
Yes,
Ice.
yes, yes.
Um, Now, with Steel, one of the biggest reasons why I personally think Steel is Ice's best losing matchup is because of the fact that A, Kyurem exists.
Hmm.
Kyurem can just, this passive Kyurem with the special defense just puts on so much pressure versus Steel
Hmm.
because, or at least passive Steel. I understand. Oh, quick thing. Shout out to, if I may shout out some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Shout out to Ashballa99 and Eclipse for helping me lab water and steel over these past couple of days. Big thank yous to them. One of the things that Ashballa said, um, I think a lot of the monotype community will know who that is as of right now, passive steel loses really hard to flying because of Moltres, or specifically Galarian Moltres, because
Yes.
they can't break substitute, and Moltres just nasty plots up and fiery wraths.
Yes.
Um, and so Steel has taken on, according to Ashballa, a more aggressive role, which I can see, like taking on like specs or not specs, Scarf, Heatran, uh, Swords Dance, Aegislash is like really important. If we
Hmm.
do come across passive Steel, Kiram just walls it. It is so funny
Yes.
because, as I said, Celesteela can't break two subs, or Celesteela can't break substitute behind Veil. You actually, without Veil, can stall out Subtoxic Aegislash, which is so funny. You can also stall out Frothorn. You can do the same thing to Heatran, and then if you predict correctly, Melmetal is not that big of a deal, especially if you're running this Darm, because one of the things that makes Steel so hard for Ice is like forcing those 50-50s of after
Yes.
they scout your move, are they going to switch out or are they going to stay in?
Yes. I can agree with that. Actually, that brings me to a question there regarding the Curum.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on heavy duty boots versus leftovers? I've experimented with both a lot, and I kind of like leftovers on sub Curum, and the reason for that, I know we have Roost, but it
Yeah.
adds that extra bit of passive healing.
Yeah.
While the heavy duty
Sometimes it
boots,
just is.
the heavy duty boots usually prevents rocks, which is 25%, but with leftovers 6%, that's within 5 turns you've made a net positive. And generally speaking, I think Kyurem's going to be out, hopefully for longer than 5 turns, to gain that net positive. So what's your thoughts on, again, it's matchup dependent, everything in Pokemon is usually matchup dependent, but what's your thoughts on that? Do you think leftovers are viable on Stall Kyurem?
So, in my opinion, when it comes to heavy duty boots versus leftovers, that all comes down to the top types. Um, and in my opinion, the top types that really make the difference for boots versus leftovers, in my opinion, are water and poison.
Yes.
If Kyurem gets toxic,
It's done.
whether it
It's
be
gone. It's
toxic
done.
spikes, yeah, toxic spikes, having the ability to avoid toxic spikes is really important. Again, Toxapex can set down toxic spikes on water. It's not as common, but it still happens. And so, again, with water being a more even matchup, Kyurem is one of the biggest players in that.
Yes.
And like, if we lose Kyurem and we lose the ability to substall with Kyurem, at least with this team build, it gets really hard. Of course, if Kyurem happens to ever get banned, which honestly it probably should, it's really good, but I would definitely miss it. But not before. I think it shouldn't get banned before other more problematic things.
Yes.
Like Moltres.
I won't get into too many bans right now, but I don't think Kyurem should be, just because I don't think Ice is viable enough that it should be targeted for one of its main things. And Dragon, I don't think Kyurem is... It's used on Dragon, but I don't think it's as problematic on Dragon, personally.
Yeah, I never see Kyurem do anything on Dragon.
Yes, I'm inclined to... Well, Dragon has so many big, meaty stat Pokemon anyway that Kyurem is probably a relatively low priority for us.
Yeah, and like I think it's good on Dragon versus Water for sure. But
Yeah.
other than that, like I never like it's good versus Water and good versus Ghost. And if you want to try this set on Dragon, be my guest. Maybe it'll help you out versus EL2, because your stab is resisted. So hey, go for Kyurem here. But one of the things that like makes me feel like Kyurem is just unhealthy is because like, dude, it just invalidates so many Pokemon.
And yeah, I could see that, but I think the main difference to me for ban-worthy and just good, I think for me, Kyurem invalidates so many Pokemon, while I think some problematic Pokemon that I will not name in this video we all knew who I'm talking about, but I'll leave that for another video. I think what makes something problematic and what makes something good is, as I said, Kyurem invalidates Pokemon, other problematic Pokemon invalidate teams or types. And I think that to me is the big difference. Now, Kyurem is borderline. I will say Kyurem is borderline invalidating types. And I think if it wasn't for, you said, Barraskewda and Urshi, I think it would invalidate Water. But I think because those things exist, I still think Water technically has a fighting chance. And I don't think Kyurem actively invalidates a single type as a whole. Not even Grass, as you said earlier, Ferrothorn can actually be quite scary. You know, if it really wants to be scary, it can. So I don't think there's any one type that just literally cannot beat Kyurem.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. However, once those types get, I know you want to move away from this. But once those Pokemon that are problematic, that we won't name the names of, get banned, I think all eyes are going to be on Kyurem. But
yes, then I think in that point, yes, we'll revisit that. And if Kyurem is ever suspect tested, I would love to have you back on the channel and
for sure
discuss this in proper detail. Like I want to give like a good whole video to discussing that if it arises.
Yeah, but back on to why this set in particular is my preferred one, because you do want to move away from the ban list stuff. This set, I understand that the OU set is like 252 speed, 200 at special attack, 56 HP. I get that. I've been testing that recently. It's not bad. I do see why people run it, because to be fair, there isn't much to miss about it. There isn't much to miss about all of these stats, except for the fact that your steel matchups up.
Yes.
Yeah. So the reason that I would prefer a more specially defensive oriented Kyurem is because, one, Kyurem's speed tier is not good necessarily. It's okay.
It's fine. It's serviceable. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's good.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, I'm not going to fully invest in a speed tier that's not going to get me anything. I would rather invest in the HP stat.
I completely agree with that. As well as that, I think Ice already has like as you said, Scarf Weavile is so fast. Ninetales is just a better speed tier. Um, Darmanitan is the same speed tier. Yeah, same speed tier.
Yeah,
So I just don't think
yeah,
speed on Kyurem does much in ice, especially when it has such good bulk it can be abusing.
yeah. And the thing is, like, with Specs Kyurem, for example, and here's my thing. If you were going to run Specs Kyurem, you absolutely have to run Scarfed. Because Specs Kyurem, like, Specs Kyurem, if you're dedicating that as your wall breaker, cool. Scarf Darm, you don't need both. When it comes to the wall breakers, depending on your team, like anything that Scarf Darm can't beat, Specs Kyurem can. So you don't really need Banded, but Banded Darm is just so much better
Hmm.
as a wall breaker. And so like you might as well just run heavy Subroost. It's just so good. But anyway, yeah, that's the team.
Very,
And
very
that's
in depth, very great in depth thing.
yeah, no
Coverage from
problem.
you. This is like, these are like 6 times as long as my ones usually are, which is amazing, by the way. That's great. So
Thank
we're
you
going
very
to
much.
jump into some games. If you're okay to take these games S rank, that'd be
Yeah.
fantastic. I'll kind of take the backseat here and watch you. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you some questions about certain aspects of Ice or certain Pokemon in Ice, if you're okay to kind of give me your thoughts on those. So the first one I'm curious about is what is your thoughts on Glastrier? Glastrier?
I think it's good. I think it's okay. A lot of people, when it first came out, people were like, "Hey, this is like one of your best options versus Steel," and I get it because like it does kind of the same thing that like Subroost Kyurem does, where it can sub on Celesteela and like set up and like
Hmm.
beat it 1v1. But the thing is, it is kind of like if Avalugg and Kyurem like had a child. It's so bad when it comes to any other matchup. Ooh, oh, Essence Aroma, what's up, bro? But anyway, it's just dead in so many matchups, in my personal opinion. But hey, those matchups have kind of fallen out of favor as of
Yes.
recent, which are like Electric and Ghost. So maybe it is better. I think
I
it actually is really good versus Poison,
I
but we
kind
don't
of
have.
feel like Glastrier is a bit. It kind of had new toy syndrome to me. Like everyone was like when it first came out, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is so cool. This is gonna be like the best new thing ever. And they kind of, as you said, dropped off. Just it was very much new toy syndrome to me. It's kind of my
Yeah.
thoughts. So the next one is Arctovish. What I think people really like Arctozalt, and I can see why. For
Mhm.
in theory, Bolt Beak Slush Rush is broken.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on Arctovish, specifically the water one?
Here, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
While we're doing games, do you mind if we focus on the games? Because I have actually a lot to say about
Okay,
those
sure,
Pokemon
sure,
from
sure, sure.
Okay, cool. So sorry, I don't. It is your video. I don't mean to.
No, it's all good, all good. If you wanna talk about the team, that's cool too.
Okay, cool. So in this matchup, um, Poison is a really great matchup for Ice. However, the two Pokemon on this team that are really invalidating for us are Salazzle and Scolipede. If we had Skill Link, it would be better. But we don't for Scolipede and for Salazzle. Honestly, the best that we can do is just try to force Salazzle out and to switch back in on rocks. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Ooh, I don't really care if Piloswine gets Will-O-Wisp, but I think a safer play is honestly to go Kyurem
Yes, because
because
if we get Wisped early, it's really good so we don't get Toxic. It's
yeah,
Life Orb. Okay, that's a cool set.
it's really I've never seen that before. Slow King. Okay, so
And so
hopefully
it
this isn't the
begins.
if this yes, dude, this stall war. If this is Trick Room, okay, so it is strong. That means it's probably max special attack. I
Yes.
really like Piloswine here. I'm gonna go for Stealth Rocks because chipping down against Salazzle and Scolipede are so important, and we have so many switch-ins on Weezing that we can just start clicking attacks. And honestly, I'm probably gonna go for Ninetales here and get my Veil up. I think.
And what's interesting about this Wheezing, for being Life Orb, it is limited how many times it can actually defog away our rocks as well, which is good for us.
Yeah, and that's completely fair. Uh, it's really funny because of the fact that it's put on such a timer with hail and with life orb
Yeah.
as well. But So the reason that we get up Aurora Veil here is because now he cannot break, or now I don't know Essence Aurora's pronouns, but they cannot break our substitute with Specs.
Yes.
And we are kind of running a little bit of a risk not getting Sludge Bomb poisoned, but that's whatever.
Which we didn't, which is great. I think
Which is amazing.
one thing as well, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one big thing about playing Ice is you have to be willing to take those risks. It's not a comfortable type that can just reliably or easily switch in on everything at once. Sometimes you have to make those risks.
And honestly, one of my things with okay, so this is Whirlwind, so that's probably not going to be too bad. I'm gonna try to get Cloister in and set up some spikes.
Yes.
Because I don't care. He doesn't, or they don't look like they have toxic spikes on this team.
Yes.
The only Pokemon that could really set it up is Weezing, and again, Weezing is running the Specs set. Here's where Teleport comes into play. We teleport in to get safe switch-ins. Darmanitan is really funny. I'm not gonna click it, but
I mean, I feel like if it's Life Orb, it's probably not running too much Fizz Def, which I mean, I feel like Icicle Crash at this stage just makes something explode.
Dude, it does like 80% to max defense, max HP Weezing. I'm not gonna click it here because I want to put it in a comfortable range for myself.
Okay, fair.
And like we're basically there right now.
True.
So I'm just gonna set up Veil, and then after this, an interesting thing to note. It's literally right. Oh my god. I'm gonna encore it because I don't want him to get rid of my stuff, and I can just kind of come in with Kyurem right now. Kyurem is another great check to Weezing, and it just switches on virtually every Pokemon as long as it's not Salazzle. Salazzle is so annoying to deal with.
Do you at least have Scarf Weavile, assuming it's not sub, which it is sub. It's sub protect toxic, as they always is. But yeah, I mean, if we can get in it in a comfortable position, it could be quite nice.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. I am curious as to why more poison type teams don't actually run Salazzle, because of the fact that it is, from what I've heard from other poison type players, poison's best answer to Steel, because of the fact that it has corrosion and toxic.
Yes. It's also its best option to other poison types, especially in the non-poison matchup. Like maybe like a stray Toxapex on Mono Water, for example. It being toxic is so good.
Yeah, and like, especially with that fire typing, the ability to resist Steel on top of that, as well as poison type attacks from said stray poison type Pokemon, really great, really amazing. I'm going to, okay. I'm debating between whether I sack Ninetales or if I risk getting toxic on Kyurem, because here's the thing: if we get Sludge Bomb toxic on Kyurem, it's not that big of a deal because Sludge Bomb toxic is not badly
exactly. Yes.
And so it's essentially a burn, but a little bit more. But because of Kyurem's like bulk, it typically doesn't matter that much. So
yes,
I think
I'd agree with that.
I'm going to risk that play, and I should have enough HP. Am I running Min? Yes, I am running Min attack. So, yes. So that means that foul play from Amoonguss shouldn't be that big of an issue. Uh-oh. 2 more left.
I think this is where we really see how good pressure is. I mean, this thing's already down to 2 Sludge Bombs and 10 Psyshocks. And all we've done is kind of sit here and be huge.
A tumor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we haven't done anything. We just sat here and existed. And the Slowking's like, well, I can no longer throw poison at my opponent. So now we've completely stalled out the Sludge Bombs. There's no chance of being poisoned, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna sit here, man. I'm just gonna sit here, roost back up to full, play the slow game, like that Poison loves to play. And I'm just gonna take my time with it. Let me see, 2 flamethrowers or 20 flamethrowers left.
They have 10 flamethrowers left.
Yeah, 10 flamethrowers. Yes.
I mean, they're quickly burning out of Psyshocks, which is quite nice.
Yeah, that's really, really, really amazing. I do kind of want to save Weavile. I would like to find an end game with Weavile or we can just get him in, because if we can get him in versus like the rest of this team without like if we can get rid of Amoonguss before that, which it doesn't usually happen. Amoonguss is kind of like one of the last Pokemon we get rid of.
Yes.
Weavile can beat Slowking 1v like from full, knock off kills from full. We can defeat Salazzle. Scolipede is kind of the biggest thing I'm worried about here. I'm gonna stop for a minute, and I'm going to look at my team and think about what the best option for beating Scolipede is going to be. And I kind of think my win condition versus Scolipede is getting up Aurora Veil, having Hail up, getting some extra chip with spikes,
Yes. And then Ice Sharding.
Yeah, and just Ice Sharding and letting it wear itself out.
Yes.
With what I'm assuming is a Life Orb.
Yes, especially if it is not heavy duty boots, it's very good for us. And the fact is, the Weezing, when this swaps in, it's already on 34, and that's in range of a lot of our attacks on the.
Yeah, actually, Freeze Dry deals, I think, 50. There it is.
Oh, wow.
There's Salazzle.
It's balloon. Okay.
That's bad. Okay, how do we go about beating this? I
guess we go Piloswine, right, and maybe just shards.
See, but here's the thing. And this is where I wanted to end. This is why Salazzle is so bad against, or so good against ice, is because of the fact that it just nothing on ice is faster than it except for Weavile.
Mm-hmm.
And it can just sub up in our face. Now, this person probably understands how important Kyurem is, but at this point in the game, what is Kyurem gonna do? Kyurem, at this point, can stall out Amoonguss, but even then, Amoonguss is weak to Freeze Dry.
Yes, also weak to Icicle Crush, the beast.
Yes, from the monkey. It can kill Weezing, which doesn't require us to sub up, and I think it can live a hit from Scolipede and keep clicking, so I'm actually just going to click Freeze Dry here and just break that air balloon, and we're just going to keep clicking Earth Power. Yes. Because at this point in the game, I don't really need Kyurem anymore. Kyurem has done its job of stalling out Slowking. At this point, Earth Power did 29. I'm going to click it again. I'm going to click the button again.
And we get a free Freeze Dry this turn.
We do in fact get a free Freeze Dry.
If they go into Weezing, the game's over. We've won. Okay, Drapion, we'll take those.
We take those. And I'm just going to go back out into Cloister, and I'm going to teleport the second I hit the field.
Yes.
Rest. I'm going to teleport on Weezing. I'm calling it right now.
Yes, and
Thank you so much.
They can sack Weezing, and every time they make this mistake, they're losing their Weezing's HP, which of course they can't afford to do.
Do you want to watch me click Earth Power here on Slowking?
Yeah, do it. Nice.
Let's go. Now watch this. Actually, no. Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz.
I was going to say, this was a free Aurora Veil, though.
It was a free Aurora Veil.
Flare Blitz does kind of explode everything upon contact, and Salazzle only has one more swap in after this.
Yep. And
what this thing dies? This thing explodes.
This thing does explode. Now here's the thing. What I'm going to do. What happens in the event that Scolipede comes in? If Scolipede comes in here, I don't know if after a Flare Blitz I can survive an Earthquake or Magic.
We probably can't. You're right. It's a good point, and that puts us in a poor position.
I'm going to give up Piloswine. I'm going to let this person put me to sleep, and I'm just going to click Earthquake in the event that Weezing comes out. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm just going to Ice Shard. Yeah, I don't really need Piloswine at this point. Sure, click Rocks. Just keep Rocks on the field. Make sure we get Chip on Scolipede. There it is, Scolipede. Earthquake.
Earthquake's going to be decently strong.
I'm going to
We still have Cloister. Oh, that's a lot.
At this point, I'm just going to click Ice Shard to, I'm just going to click Ice Shard to beat this thing.
I feel like defensive Cloister lives one, and Ice Shard will 2 KO.
Oh my god, it's so many. I'm just going to click Ice Shard again, because at this point, we know it's not Life Orb, which sucks, but we also know that it's not Heavy Duty Boots, because it took... Did it take damage from this?
They defogged away before we get it in because we were asleep.
They defogged away, so we don't know.
Probably was Boots, if I was to guess. Maybe
I'm
Sash.
I'm going to say GG. There we go, forfeit.
No one uses Sash.
Yep, no one
Cool.
uses Sash.
All right,
That's fair,
let's
but look at
let's
that.
boost up another game. So while we're loading, I did definitely want to ask you two specific Pokemon
Yeah.
that I would love to discuss before the video is over. One is a personal favorite of mine, and the ice type is Lapras. What's your thoughts on Lapras?
Lapras is cool. I think since Kyurem has come out and become more well defined, Lapras's role has kind of been diminished because the whole
Yes.
thing that Lapras was even good at was switching in on water type attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really amazing when Dracovish was here because that Pokemon is just a water type move. But um, after that thing got
Oh,
after,
cool.
after I'm just gonna can I no I'll play it. I'll play it out so people can see how
Yeah, we
bad
want to
this
see how bad this is.
TLHF. So after the banning, it doesn't matter what I lead here. I'm gonna hope for the choke. Cool, Veil, whatever. So our only hope in this matchup, before I answer your question, is to make sure that Scissor does not get in for free. I'm just gonna
Yes.
go Cloyster. And there we go, game over. GG. Watch this thing swords dance in my face because behind Veil, Darmanitan actually Brick break. God, no. Oh no. Rutro. That's not
I mean,
good.
I'm glad. In a way, I'm glad we got a mono bug because
This
it
is
just
awful.
shows people, just how truly awful this matchup can be.
I'm gonna go Piloswine, and we're gonna see how winnable we can make this. If we can do this, amazing. But here's the thing: I don't. So let's just think for a minute. Brick break, dual wing beat. Okay, Scyther, cool. I am gonna take this time to go right back out into Ninetales and set up an Aurora Veil.
Yes.
We absolutely cannot let Scissor in with a free bullet punch. We cannot. I'm gonna I'll Veil again. I can't. It's this now. You might be asking, oh, why don't I encore here? If that Scissor comes in, the game is
Yeah,
over.
exactly. I agree. No, I think Veil's the right play because at least Scizor can we can chip it down with Life Orb and Hail. It's a pretty low chance, but it's a not impossible chance.
Yeah, I'm gonna get up spikes because of that.
Yes.
Just so we can keep pushing it into range. Infestation.
We can spin these away, or we can.
I need to spin this away. I
Yeah.
need to. If I don't spin it away, if Buzzwole is Scarf, we can't beat it.
That's true. Good point.
Yeah, and so I'm just gonna keep clicking rapid spin on this thing until they decide to kill me. And even then, I think that might have been the wrong play because I don't think we can one-shot this Pokemon.
But we can set up a substitute on Kyurem, potentially.
We can set up a sub with a Kyurem, but the thing is, like, he's just gonna get Vea. He's just gonna get this back up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click Freeze Dry. I'm
Okay.
just going to click Freeze Dry. Buzzwole. That's good chip on Buzzwole. Please, please freeze. Oh my god, I'm begging you. No.
We could be so lucky.
Okay, so let's analyze what's important in this matchup. I'm gonna refer to them as my nicknames. Love Muffin, the Pilot. Love Muffin is super important here versus Volcarona.
Yes, absolutely integral to the game. I feel like I don't see Wasabi doing too much. It gets outsped by Bullet Punch, by Volk, by potentially Scarf, Buzzwole. That's what by Scyther. The only thing it outspeeds for sure are Aquanid and Crustle. And I mean, just as much as I hate to say it, I think Wasabi is probably the least useful here.
Goodbye, Wasabi. And it is Scarf. Okay.
Which means Weavile comes in, right, and gets a free KO here.
That's the thing. I don't know if it gets a free KO. It would get a free KO. Let's do a calc. So Weavile, Monotype Ice Type Revenge Killer, same stats, versus Buzzwole, Choice Scarf Bug at -1 defense and +1 attack. Foul Play can KO it. So I'm going to click the button and we can.
Yes, nice. Okay, that's a start.
That's a start.
I mean, Scizor is still scary.
Oh no. All right.
Very scary.
I'm gonna let you take this Pokemon. I'm gonna go right on out into Love Muffin. We're clicking Earthquake. I cannot, for the life of me, let you do anything with this Pokemon. You turn, and I think we just lost to Bullet Punch. GG, everybody. That's game. I'm gonna get rocks up.
If we get rocks up, it dies, right? To spikes and rocks.
If we are lucky, and then but the thing is, at this point, now we've lost our Volcarona answer.
That's true. Maybe it's not boots for some reason. It's some foreign land where it's Utility Umbrella Volcarona. One of these days, S rank, it's gonna happen, and then I'll
One of
be
these days.
laughing.
Hey, you'll be laughing. Listen, dude, I could see it happen. I could see it. And
Oh,
okay, GG.
okay. Well, yeah, GG. Yeah, that's game.
I'm gonna let it play out. Well, do you want to let it play out, or do you want to move on to another?
Let's move on to one more. I think.
All right, GG.
GG. Yeah,
Cool.
we can just take
I'm
the loss there.
such a volatile matchup.
It's tough. So yeah, about Lapras. So my thoughts. I completely agree that its role has been diminished. Oh, Irish. I am Irish. Hey, look, this guy's Irish and he's an ice player, so he's insulting both of us. We cannot lose. I can't lose to another Irish person, and you cannot lose to an ice player. So
we cannot. Now, I'm sorry we keep cutting off your Lapras question. I want to answer it. Do you think we'll have time after this to answer it?
we can, yeah, if we can get through it. I think the video's almost an hour and a half already. But I definitely want to talk about Lapras and Regice. By the way, are the two. I
have a crazy set for Regice.
I love Regice. I think it's an underrated monster. But let's get into that after this matchup because this one is we definitely have to win this one, S rank.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely do. So here's the thing. This is a pretty interesting matchup because of the fact that it's a mirror ice matchup where they're using Avalugg.
Yes.
It is a mirror ice matchup where they're using Avalugg, and Avalugg versus ice is really, really good.
Yes.
Because if you look at our team, only 2 special attackers here.
And they can body press us like crazy, though I do think Encore Ninetales is going to be pretty good here.
I think so too. I also think that Kyurem is pretty bad, all things considered, because Ninetales invalidates, Darm invalidates, Weavile invalidates. The other Kyurem we can stall out, and the only thing I really see Kyurem being good at in this matchup is getting through Arctozolt and getting through Avalugg.
But I'm calling this right now. This is not Choice Scarf Weaver. This is Band Weavile, or this is either Bander or Swords Dance Weavile, and this is Scarf Darm on this team. I don't know why. That's my gut has told me that. And this is not Stall Kyurem. This is especially offensive Kyurem.
That's completely fair. I'm gonna trust the vibe here. I'm gonna lead Cloyster on Darmanitan.
That's pretty good.
That's a great lead. I don't know if we can do anything versus it. I am sure about to teleport out and watch this thing superpower my face and die because this thing is banned.
Yes.
If it even is. I'm gonna watch this thing teleport. Ooh, U-turn.
Okay.
All right.
So we're keeping momentum. That's great.
Valuable information. Here's why we use our calcs, everybody.
This is that's Scarf, I think. That's Scarf. There's no way. Band would do like 800% just by virtue of the fact it's Darm.
Just by virtue of the fact that it is in fact Darm. I am gonna still calc it just to be safe. This is why we use our calcs. Banded or Darm. What Pokemon did they go out into?
Avalugg, which is...
Oh, perfect. I'm going to go out into Piloswine and get a Toxic off.
Yes, exactly. If we can get this Toxic immediately, it's so good for us.
Scarf. You're right. You are correct. That is Scarf Darmanitan. Let's go into this, and we're going to get a Toxic off. And now, if we can do this, Kyurem actually has viable use.
We're laughing.
Double Toxic. I'm okay with that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Stealth Rocks up.
Exactly, because they're pressured now. They're going to try to spin these away. That's fine.
I'm going to Encore into... If they body press me, awesome. If they spin away, Encore that. Or do I... I'm going to Encore. I can't really...
I would almost say Veil here, because they're going to have to swap out soon, right?
They are. Now, here's the thing. Here's why I value Ninetales in this matchup. Weavile... If this is in fact Scarf...
It's not Scarf Weavile.
If it is in fact Scarf, we have to speed time. Yeah. So
I will say there's no way at Scarf Weavile.
No way at Scarf Weavile?
Not a chance.
That's fair. I am going to prep for it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But,
it's the reasonable thing to do, but I don't think it's Scarf Weavile.
That's completely fair. When I think it is probably Band or SD, just because that's Scarf Darm. But anyway, Arctozolt hits the field now. Here's one of the only reasons Kyurem is good in this. Is taking an 1,000,000% from Arctozolt.
Oh no, it's low kick. That's not banded damage anyway for sure. That's mostly boots, I'd say.
So let's also calc that, because we can't let this man insult us. We are going to win this game. Arctozolt banned, and you offensive. Low kick. I am almost max HP. Low kick is dealing 50. That is in fact banned, and
It's
I am in
banded.
fact that is
Okay.
banded. That's not a crit. I am gonna
Well,
go,
in which case, Ninetales will take 0, right? Because it's part fairy typing and quite light.
and I'm gonna give up a veil. There we go. Now we got both of what we want.
Yes, exactly.
Out of this time. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good for us.
That's very good. And there's Darm. I'm gonna go right on back out into CAC. Or Cloyster. I'm gonna go right back out into it. And I'm just going to not care about whatever you do. And I'm
Especially
gonna
because
start
we're getting to the stage where spikes and stealth rock are looking possible, especially
Mhm.
if the Avalugg is on a timer.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm about to do, honestly. In the event of Avalugg, I'm going to go into Piloswine. And I don't know. Do I go into Piloswine? I think I actually go. I think I teleport out into Kyurem and just start clicking buttons on that. I think that's probably for the best.
I depend that. Well, let's see what they go into. I suppose.
Yeah.
If it's Avalugg,
Mhm.
yes, I think we do because we need that Avalugg gone because that opens up rocks so much.
Yep. And
Like,
behind
crazy.
Veil, yeah. Behind Veil, Kyurem can't kill Piloswine. Ninetales can't kill Piloswine. Hey, that's Weavile. Crazy. You know what we were just thinking you were? I'm about to rapid spin on you. You're knockoff. I'm going to say, at this point, I'm going to teleport off. The reason I rapid span there is so
It's to
that
break
way
Sash. Is it?
break Sash.
Yeah.
Yup. Now, we know it's not banned.
Yes.
It could possibly be Sash.
We know it's not
But we
Scarf.
also know that low kick outspeeds.
And which is great is this doesn't necessarily give them information.
Mhm.
Oh, wow, they gave us Avalugg. Okay,
Check
that
this out.
is so good for us.
Hey, Krabs, do we take this right now? I think we take those.
Yeah,
and I'm just
absolutely.
going to-
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's
I'm
fair. They went into Ninetales. That's the very reasonable play there.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to sack Kyurem.
Mhm.
And I'm going to try to get in Piloswine.
Yes, because rocks
Right.
are actually crazy in this game. Oh.
Yup.
Okay, they gave us Avalugg. This is looking better for us because every bit of damage we can get is so good. Even spikes are amazing at this point in the game.
Stone Edge.
Okay, that's strange.
Scary.
Does
banded or
I feel like Piloswine lives. I think it lives one.
I think we have to. I think Hale has one. Okay, I have a question. Has Ninetales has come in before, right?
As their
Like
Hail.
their Ninetales has come in before. I'm trying to see. So that's my Ninetales. Or that's our Ninetales.
It only came in 4 turns ago for the first time.
Cool. So we don't know
We
whether.
don't know. But either way, it works out in our favor, I think. Oh, that kills.
Piloswine. Oh, okay. So we know it's Light Clay. Awesome. Now we are going to
To explode
play
something.
the Darmanitan game. And I'm going to. I would Flare Blitz here. I think I superpower. I think I superpower. And the reason I think I superpower is because we still break Ninetales pretty easily. And
Yes.
if Kyurem comes in, we take that away from them. That is what I was hoping for.
That just does so much damage. Unfortunately, Arctozolt is quite scary for us.
Yes, it is. Now, here's the thing though. We know that Arctozolt is banned. And
Yes.
so here's that question you asked. Is Foul Play going to kill? Foul Play is not going to kill. Low Kick is going to do. There is Ninetales. I'm gonna click Superpower again.
Okay, yeah, we take those.
And I think at this point, Moonblast at 50. I don't really see Darm being useful.
I don't think Darm's it's slower than everything else in the team.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Gave us Arctozolt. Let's go.
Okay, that's pretty good damage on Zolt.
Check this out. Watch what happens.
Because
now
we're
that
about to
we have-
outspeed. We're about to outspeed this.
And we're gonna just click Low Kick because Low Kick kills everything on this team.
And it wins the
including-
game, I think. Does Low Kick
And-
kill Darmanitan? Surely it does, right?
Yes, it does. Low Kick is a hard kill on Darmanitan.
There we go. Well, I'm glad we beat the Irish ice player. With our
We
powers
made-
combined. With my powers of being Irish and your powers of being an ice player, we managed to do it. Awesome.
Yes, regional pride. Let's go.
Okay, so before we do pop off, I want to hear your thoughts on Regice real quick because I think it's slightly slept on. I think either Assault Vest or Weakness Policy behind Veil, its special defense is so obscenely massive.
Hmm.
And I like Rock Polish. I like Rock Polish, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, with Weakness Policy. I can't remember what last move I ran. Might have been Ancient Power or something. Either way, I just thought it was kind of a gimmick, but its special defense is so strong. It was eating like Charizard flamethrowers. I'm like, yeah, we'll have it.
Yeah, that's completely fair. What I'm gonna do right quick is I'm gonna send you a set for
Yes,
Regice, and I'm just
yes.
gonna. It's just like it's not a poke paste. It's just the IVs and everything, the
Okay,
AVs and everything, and it's a lot to look at. It is 148 HP, 148 defense,
okay,
calm nature, and special defense with no investment outside of that. 48 special attack and 164 speed. Now,
okay. I
I made
saw
this a
Gravity
while ago.
Zap Cannon, and that is so cool.
This is it is so surprising to me how viable this is. I don't remember exactly why I was using it, but this 1v1's goal trace for starters. It also beats water pretty well, I think. I haven't counted in a while, but like this Pokemon, like after you get a Zap Cannon off and you paralyze, it's so funny because you can
Yes.
outspeed it. That's why you have the speed. You outspeed anything after you kind of outspeed anything above 3 or 4 something or 3 something,
Uh,
340.
three. Yeah, just 3, 4. No, 354. Right.
Yeah, 354. Which I don't remember how good of a speed tier that is. I'm gonna look at speed tiers right quick. Also, how much more time do you think we have? I
I will
have a
probably need to wrap it up real soon because I need to go to bed.
yes.
It is like
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning at the time I'm recording this.
Well, if you want to throw that on screen, that's a
Yes,
set. You can test it out for people.
I have it up
I
on screen. So this is if anyone's watched this far, if you've watched the hour and a half content, you are
Mhm.
gifted with the sickest Reggie set I've seen in my life. So this is your gift for watching this far.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I really love it. I think it's super cool. I think bolt beam coverage again is just so great, and the ability to like gravity just helps out so much. It takes Zap Cannon and makes it like 85.
Yes.
Um, now I was hoping. What's the other Pokemon you had a question about? Lapras.
Lapras. We talked a bit about Lapras, and you kind of covered everything I wanted to hear when you said, it's Kyurem kind of invalidated its niche, which I'd agree with. I think it was really
Mhm.
good in previous generations, but yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else you have a question about? I was hoping to give like tips for people building ice type teams, but I also it's your channel. Do whatever you want.
I would definitely like to do that maybe another time.
Okay, no problem. I will save these
Definitely,
clips.
I would like to have you back because it's already run on quite long, and
Mhm.
I need to
You
get
need to go to
to
bed.
need to get to sleep.
Yep.
So,
No
but
problem.
overall, for anyone who's watched this far, of course, thank you so much for making it this far. This is a monumental video, really fun to record. So thank you for the support. As always, guys, leaving likes, comments, all that kind of stuff. I know you're sick of hearing of it, but it does help me out so much as a small creator. I truly do appreciate it. I do read every comment. Every time I get a like on a video, it makes my day. So I really appreciate that. And of course, massive, on large even as large as Kyurem Special Defense, thank you to S Rank for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, my man. It's been so great being able to talk to you, someone who's so knowledgeable and so passionate about their type. It's been great.
Thank you so much. I thank you so much for having me. I'm again sorry if I was talking over it all, but
No, absolutely
this
not.
has been it's been so exciting, and I'm just so thankful that you had me on. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
And
Uh,
for those watching, this will probably not be the last time we see S Rank on the channel. I had a great time today. Absolutely amazing player, and you are of course welcome back in the future when I have the schedule for it.
awesome. Thank you so much, man. I cannot wait.
And with that, everyone, thank you again so much, and I'll catch you next time, and take care.